Welcome to Art by Rick. I'm Rick. Today I'm kind of excited. I'm going to do a large painting. This is on a 3x4 canvas that I've set up on the easel behind me. And I'm literally going to throw paint at the canvas. This is kind of a splatter type painting. I'll mix my colors in little cups. I'll do them different strengths. Some will be thicker, some will be thinner. And I'm going to apply them to the canvas by either throwing the paint at the canvas and letting it splatter in different directions, or strategically pouring it or dipping it on the canvas. I may find that I have to take the canvas off the easel and lay it on the floor in order to let gravity help the paint splatter. But the idea is to cover this canvas in color, get lots of different things to look at, different mixtures, different blends, and so on and so forth. So, Art by Rick, today we're just going to have some fun and we're going to throw paint at a canvas and see what we can come up with our abstract today. So, let me show you how I prepared this. First of all, if I'm going to be throwing paint all over the place, I want to not only protect myself by putting on a painting apron, but I also want to protect the area around it. So I'm actually standing in a makeshift painting booth. I've cordoned off a section of my studio by hanging black draped cloth or black plastic cloths all around the area to catch any paint that may splatter off the sides of the canvas and go over here and there. I've also covered the floor beneath me with some painter's paper, also some more plastic, again kind of covering the whole area. When you do this kind of artwork, you want to make sure you set up a section that protects everything around it, because you don't want to have to spend a lot of time cleaning up a lot of stuff. This can get pretty crazy with paint splattering everywhere. I may have to put on some safety glasses because I don't want to get paint in my eyes when I'm splattering. But we'll see what happens and how the paint's going to react based on the volume or the strength or the intensity of how it's thrown against the canvas. Let me show you the preparation table that I set up on where I'm going to prepare my paints in order to do this. I wanted to show off the preparation to do this throwing paint at canvas idea. So I wanted to show this table a little bit. As you can see, I have a number of different paints. This is, by the way, this is a great way for me as an artist. A lot of times when I do my paintings, I'll use colors and I'll do the painting, and I end up with just a little bit that's left in a bottle. So I'll turn the bottles upside down to get the paint to go all the way to the tip of the bottle. And then I'll come up with doing something where I can kind of use up those paints. And this is a great way to use up paints. So I have a number of different colors, as I said. I have some metallics in here. I have some regular based acrylics, some bright colors, some dark colors. I have a number of cups here on the table that I'm going to put some of the thinner in, and I'm going to mix the colors to make it more liquid. I have a number of brushes here in the front. This is for dipping in water to make the color really thin so that I can flick it all over the canvas to get different directions and spots and things like that. Several stir sticks for mixing my paints together. Of course, paper towel for any overflows or cleanups. And this is a lot to do here. So I'm going to step back and spend some time mixing some paints together, getting things ready to go. And then I will kind of map out how I'm going to apply the paints, and then I'll move forward from there. I'll probably start with darker colors first and then layer lighter colors on that in order to keep the colors bright so that they don't really blend all in and I just end up with a really dark mesh type picture. I'll probably stop in between different colors to let them dry and set up a little bit. We'll see how, when throwing this paint, the naturalisms of gravity help the paint move around. And what that does for looks, because that will help me make a decision as to whether or not I want to keep my canvas on my easel and do this, or if it's too much, putting it down on a flat surface and dropping the paint that way so that I have a little more control as to what directions it goes. So this is preparation. It's quite a lot. I'm going to jump off camera here and I'm going to start to mix my paints. I'll show you what it looks like when everything's mixed together, and then we'll reset up and we'll start to paint. All right, while I was off camera, I poured my paints. I took all those bottles of colors and I put the paint into all these little paper cups that I have here. So, and I've divided my colors up into how I kind of am going to use them, starting from the darkest colors working towards the lightest colors, and I may change it up as I go along. I have some neutrals like white in here. I have my gold metallic and silver metallic, as well as reds and blues and so on and so forth. Some of these colors I won't throw out of these little cups. I'll actually mix them in the bigger cups because I'm going to add some water to make them very liquid so that they'll throw and they'll splatter. Some of them I'll take a brush like this and I'll dip the brush into some water and then dip it into the paint so I can flick onto the canvas. So a number of different things that I'm going to do. So I'm going to finish stirring these up and getting them ready, and then we'll begin to do our painting. All right, I'm ready to begin this painting. So literally what I'm going to be doing is taking my colored paints and splattering them or throwing them onto the canvas in multi-layers in different directions to get an overall abstract that will be interesting to look at, have colors going in different directions, and different designs based on how gravity and how the force of throwing the paint splatters on the screen. So in additional preparation, one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to put some safety glasses on because I don't want to get any paint in my eyes. And I've decided that I'm going to wear some gloves because this is going to get pretty messy. So let me just figure out how to get these gloves on here. I feel like a surgeon that's getting ready to paint, but I just want to take all the precautions that I possibly can. I have the table, I moved the table next to me so that I have my colors ready to go and my mixtures ready to go. And I may mix up some additional paints as I'm going on. All right, so I'm going to start with the darker colors first and then go to the lighter colors. So I have a throwing cup here. I'm going to add a little bit of water to the cup just to be able to get the paint thin. I'll pick the first color that I want to do, which is going to be just a dark brown, and I'm going to add that into the water. And I'm going to kind of mix it a little bit. And again, this is going to be very light because it is very watery. I also have the garbage can in front of me so that I can put my things. I'll give this a little bit of a stir. And in this case here, I'm going to use a brush because this is a smaller 2-inch brush that I can actually dip in here and get some paint on it. Now this is going to be very light, so I'm going to just kind of throw this on the screen. So first I'm going to do some splatters onto my screen. And I'm going to let the colors kind of drool and do different things on there. So that's how I'm going to start this. And as you can see, gravity is pulling the paint down. So that makes it kind of make an interesting look on it. I'm going to add some more colors to this, some more splatters. And in the interest of time, I won't be doing all of the painting in front of you here on camera. I'll be doing it little by little. But again, I'm going to add 2 more colors, and then I'll come back and I'll go to the next stage on it. So just excuse me while I get off the camera so that I can mix 2 more colors, and then we'll splatter those on. All right, I've mixed a couple more colors. I'm going to use a different brush here. I'm putting it into my water mix with my color mix on here to get some colors on here. And again, I'm going to just splatter this onto my canvas. And you can see why it's important for me to be covered, especially with gloves and whatever, as I'm making this. I have another color here. Again, I'm going to put a wider brush on this, and I'm going to add a little bit different as far as colors are concerned. All right. I think I'll try to do a little bit of an arc with this color. And I don't know if you can hear it, but this paint is going all over the place. This is why I have everything covered the way that I have it covered. All right, so I'll let this set up for a little bit, and then I'll come back and I'll continue layering some more colors onto this. So there you go. Be back in a moment. So now we've added some of the lighter, darker colors where I mixed with water and splattered it onto my canvas here, or onto my screen, as I call it, my canvas. I'm going to do 4 more colors, only I'm going to do a little bit different this time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these blues that I've done, that I've thinned out with some acrylic medium, and I'm just going to kind of splatter this onto the canvas itself. So here we go. This is why I call this show Throwing Paint. So I'm going to stand back a little bit here, and I'm just going to throw it right onto the canvas itself. Just a nice streak that's going across it to add some bold colors. Now gravity is going to start pulling some of this down, and I want those drips there so that I have a good idea of what kind of, get some character going to it. This next blue is a little darker. It's a little thicker. I have it mixed pretty thick here. So I'm going to use this popsicle stick to kind of make some lines in here. And I'm just going to add my lines onto my canvas, just like this. I'm just dripping it on and adding some lines, some streaks, some lines. I apologize for my back, but I'm just adding some things on here. Again, just streaking it on, streaking it on, streaking it on. Some blobs on here. There we go. Just adding some thicker colors and allowing it to drip and mix. And I'll even just pour it on here to allow that to go. Kind of mingle it up a little bit. And this is, like I said, this is kind of fun. This is where I guess I'm kind of drawing through it to give some interest to the canvas. And I'm just kind of streaking on through here. All right, so that gives me that next layer of color. Now, I've always said I like to add black. I'm going to add a little black on here because black gives me some contrasting color. So I'm just going to add some black marks on here. Again, I'm just smearing this on to give me different directions, some different things to look. Just some black to kind of contrast the blue here. And again, I'm using a popsicle stick to kind of add this on. And again, I'm just kind of putting it onto my screen or onto my canvas. I'm just putting the black on here. So here we go. And again, I'll just blop some blops on here like that. Here we go. And smear it around. And there's some black on here. All right. All right, now that I have my black added on, I'm going to go a little bit opposite. And again, add some brown onto here. This is brown. Same technique. I'm using my popsicle stick to kind of draw on the canvas to give me some looks on here, all right? And this is all I'm going to do here for now because I want this to set up. And then I'm going to add some bright colors onto this in a different pattern to kind of get this really going pretty good. So let's just add some more of this brown on here. Here we go, we're adding some brown in. Wherever it's dripped, we're kind of just smearing it around. So we're making a mess. That's what this is all about. It's throwing paint, making a mess. Okay, so that kind of gives us an idea of what we're doing with these next colors. So now we're going to let this set up, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to add some lighter colors to be a little bit more bold and bring this a little further out. Okay, now I stepped away and I let this set up a little bit. So I've done those colors that were on here. I got my base colors on. Now we're going to start to add some bright colors to this. I've prepared a number of cups of paint. I have, let's see, 5, 6, almost 10 different colors that are here that I'm just going to throw at the canvas and see what we get as far as splats are concerned. Safety glasses on, gloves are on, and I'm ready to start throwing some paint. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to use some red here. I have my red mixed up and ready to go. And I'm just going to start putting this paint onto the canvas. So there we go. Just going to start throwing it on, letting it drool, letting it do different things, getting it onto the canvas. I have some gray here. Put some gray on. And I'll put a little pink in here. Again, I'm just throwing paint onto the canvas. Let's do some yellow. Yellow. And a little purple. A little purple on the canvas. There we go. Purple. Let that drool on. And we're adding some orange on here. We're letting the orange run on the canvas. Do some neutral color on here. Kind of letting the neutral color go. Letting it run all into each other. We'll add a little white just for contrast on here. White. There we go. Have a little gray. That was a good pound. And a little neutral tan that's on here. Or gold, I should say. All right, I'm going to let this drip and blend a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the canvas. After it's dried, I'm going to lay it down on the floor so that I can do some colors over these colors to kind of fill the canvas in to finish up our abstract. Okay, I've moved the painting down to the floor. I put it on the floor because what I'm going to do to finish this is I'm going to throw paint across the canvas. I'm going to start from either side, either from this side or this side, and I'm going to spread paint across in a splashing technique, which you've seen me do before. Now, the painting is set on the floor because when I had it up on the easel, as I threw paint against the canvas, it started to drip, and it went down the canvas. As you can see, there's streaks here. So I'm going to actually probably turn this painting around as the finished one. But for now, I'm going to set up my blobs, as I call them, of different colors to drag the brush through to just splash color across this canvas. So the way I'll start this is I've mixed some red paint here, and I'm going to put this red paint in dots in different areas across, depending on the track of how I'm going to do the brush. And then I'll layer some other colors on top of that, so we get a splash and a streaking technique going across the canvas. So I'm going to begin my pour by making some blobs on here. So I'll start over here. I'm just going to make some blobs like this. I'm planning to kind of go across the middle of this. So here's my colors. My red. I mixed 4 different colors to do this. So as you can see, I'm just adding the colors to these blobs. Now again, as I've said before, when you're doing something like this, you want to make sure that you have a lot of space to do it, because it does get quite messy. I have some yellow here that I'm going to add, and for the fun of it, a little bit of blue. I always add, for good measure, some white and just a little dot of brown. So now the next challenge is to kind of look at this a little bit and see what I want to do as far as my direction is concerned. I need to pick a brush that's going to make sense here. So I'll pick my, I'm going to do probably my 3-inch brush, just to see how this is going to lay out here. So we'll use this 3-inch brush that's here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this paint across the canvas. So I'm going to go from here, and I'm just going to zigzag right through this, right across the canvas, kind of making a mess to give me a streak of color going across the middle of this abstract throw paint that I've been doing, okay? So here we are. Okay, let's get ready to do this. While I'm doing this, I'm going to be twisting the brush, so it's going to get quite messy. So, all right, we'll start from over here. I'm just going to go back like this, and I'm just going to kind of throw through the paint. There we go. That's all I'm going to do. All right, so now we're going to finish this painting, my throwing paint at the canvas painting. I've let this set up. We're actually about, I'd say 4 days now into this painting, because as we did the different layers, we had to let it dry. So this has been up on the easel where we threw paint against the canvas. We did different directions. We allowed it to drool off the canvas. We then put it on the floor where we did some mixtures, and we did a splashing technique all the way across the canvas. Now we're going to finish it by putting a nice crisp edge around the edges. And I like to just paint the edge, the part of the canvas that you don't see, but the edges of the canvas, I like to paint those black just to give a nice clean trim all around the side. So what I've done is I put it up on my work table. I've put some painter's tape around the perimeter of the canvas itself so I don't get any black paint on the actual painting itself. And I'm just going to seal the edges all the way around. Okay, so I've put a black edge all around the edge of the canvas itself to give it a nice finished look. And now I'm going to switch the position of the camera, and we'll turn it around and we'll take a look at our finished abstract Let's Throw Paint painting. So as I said, I've put the edge all around the painting here, and I flipped it around like I do with a lot of my abstracts. I find that by turning them around, I get a little bit different of a perspective. But here we go. This is our throwing paint at the canvas painting. I'll lift it up here so you can take a look at it. This one took a few days to do because it's a lot of different layers and a lot of time to dry. But there's the painting. So again, 3 foot by 4 foot canvas with a number of colors on it, and the splash across the center just by throwing paint and getting an abstract design. So My name's Rick, and this has been Art by Rick. So folks, just go out there and paint and discover the artist in you. I'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Jay McCormick, a board director at Nutmeg TV, your local public TV station right here in Farmington. Nutmeg TV has been an integral part of our community for over 30 years, providing a platform for residents to share stories, voice concerns, and celebrate achievements. It's a vital resource that connects us all, bringing countless local events to our TV screens. The topics are limitless and vary from being aware of scams to veterans helping veterans. Nutmeg TV continues to be here for the community. To continue this important work, we're asking for your support through a donation. Your contribution will ensure that Nutmeg TV remains a robust and relevant resource for our community. Thank you for supporting Nutmeg TV. Together, we can continue to amplify the voices and stories that make our community unique and vibrant.
To make a donation, simply visit our website at nutmegtv.com or call the office at 860-321-7405 for assistance.
What are you doing this summer? Do you want to belong to a community that embraces the creative spirit, not pushes it aside? Are you ready to explore your inner passions and meet lifelong friends? YPI is for you. Since 1981, YPI has served as an annual retreat, a home base, and a welcoming environment for the curious mind. You'll find an inclusive, sharing community where we are always learning. At YPI, your success begins with believing there are no can'ts and no won'ts. We're not your average arts camp. You don't need any special ability or talent because our professional staff will foster your interest in the creative arts at any level. Maybe it's a paintbrush, or a microphone, a camera, or a pen, or any combination of all of these. We inspire passion, build confidence, and strengthen friendships. We're YPI. Are you ready to find out what the YPI state of mind is all about?